When you're in the middle of covering this story of Israel, the terrorist attacks from Hamas, where the world goes from here, you want somebody that knows the area. Mm-hmm. You want somebody that knows the people. And frankly, somebody that lives the life. And that's Jordana Miller from ABC News who joins us. I believe you're in Jerusalem, right?
I am in Jerusalem. Yeah, we had some sirens this morning, militants from the Gaza Strip trying to fire on Jerusalem. Those rockets shot down, more fired towards central Tel Aviv and the airport, Ben Gurion International Airport. But most of the rockets today still really targeting the south. A short while ago, there were the first reports that some militants have infiltrated along Israel's northern border. That is a worrying development because Hezbollah sits on that border. That's the Islamist Shiite group backed by Iran.
Right.
That has gone to war with Israel before, and everyone is praying they stay on the sidelines because if they jump into this, it'll really be a regional conflict. There was also 2 rockets that were fired from Lebanese territory into Israel earlier. One fell in an open field. One fell in Lebanese territory. Down south, the Israeli army is continuing to kind of retake control of those border communities that were infiltrated by dozens of armed Palestinian militants that caused havoc and cruelly murdered people, going into their homes, hitting them in the cars, at a rock festival, firing on young people. Just that site alone, there were 260 people killed. Of Israel's death toll, 700, the vast majority of them are from gunshot wounds, not from rocket fire, right? The Iron Dome worked as it should. It was, it protected the civilian populations. It was the militants that came through on motorbikes and cars and on foot that just caused terror and left bloodshed. Most of those militants have now been killed, according to the Israeli army. There are a few sporadic points, but for the most part, they are in control of that area. They are evacuating every Israeli resident from the south. Those are thousands of Israelis, more than half of them already evacuated, which tells us Israel's likely planning a much larger operation into the Gaza Strip, right, and that those areas will be declared closed military zones. Israel's carrying out intensive airstrikes across the Gaza Strip. As the Israeli army spokesman said today, we will hit any spot that they know there is Hamas operatives working in. They are dropping leaflets. They are giving warnings to civilians, as they always do. Nonetheless, the numbers there of fatalities are climbing past 500 now in the Gaza Strip. Israel has also decided for the first time to cut off all aid of no fuel and no electricity and no food supplies or anything will flow into the Gaza Strip. This is the first time Israel's done this.
And one of the great world questions that will come out of this is everybody's got a phone, everybody's got a camera, everybody has social media. Does this amplify hatred for Jews in the greater Arab world of those who are predisposed to do that and therefore give Iran and give others more of a reason to create what could well be a multinational war with America involved? Or is that hatred so embedded that it's already there? You don't need an excuse. I keep coming back, Jordana, to why now, and what do they want out of this?
Right. Well, first of all, I think the hatred is already embedded. And if anything, Israeli analysts have been saying for the last few days since this war broke out that Israel actually pursued a policy of negotiation with Hamas, giving them more work permits, giving them more goods to go in and out, getting countries here in the region like Qatar to give the Palestinians in Gaza, millions and millions of dollars, getting UN money in there. and people are asking themselves, was that a mistake? Because I'm speaking as the Israelis are saying, did Israel mistake this policy for buying goodwill from Hamas, and perhaps their position would change or they would view Israel differently? Well, it turns out in a shock attack, Israelis, and I'm talking from the top brass down to people, everyday people, citizens are thinking they've seen the ugliest side of the enemy, and they have decided that, perhaps it was a mistake to appeal to Hamas's better angels, if they had any, because it appears they don't.
Because, this certainly was in the planning forever.
Right.
And then there's a whole question about what did they know, when did they know?
Right. I mean, there was a massive intelligence failure, which Israel will explore after this war. Right now, they're just concerned with winning, whatever that means. And the country is coming together, which is, when you think about it, remarkable, given 9 months of massive protests and divisions. Even Netanyahu is going to end up partnering with his most bitter political rivals in what looks like a national emergency unity government to conduct this war. But, why is it happening now? There's no doubt that Israel's advances, its new diplomatic ties with the United Arab Emirates, with Bahrain, with Morocco, with the momentum that was building around possible ties with Saudi Arabia, all of this perhaps convinced Iran, who ultimately funded likely this attack, to pull the trigger now and try to throw all of that out of balance.
And the world order, and the world order is brought into play here. China with Taiwan, what happens to Ukraine,
all of it.
America can't be spread everywhere. All right, before you go, Jane, jump in.
She's answered all the questions. I'm curious, Jordana, where were you 48 hours ago when the strikes first happened? And I know you've been covering more of the personal side to the stories of these families that have been taken hostage and mothers trying to find their kids.
Yeah. I was actually, I was sleeping it was a Saturday morning, right then when everything broke out. That is the Sabbath here. I actually keep the Sabbath. But I was awoken by the sirens, and I have a 6-month-old baby boy, Harel, and a 3-year-old, Liel, and the nanny, and we all went running for our safe room, and that's where I was, and I immediately realized that there was likely a war underway, because when it comes to firing on Jerusalem, you've already passed 5 or 6 other levels.
Right.
At which point, I broke the Sabbath to join the fight, to work and try to figure out what this story was and how to tell it.
And to get the information out that people need to hear. Please stay safe. I know it sounds trite, but we mean it, and do your best to take care of it while you tell the story. It's people like you and Clarissa Ward, your colleague at CNN, and all these folks are just flat out heroes to be in the middle of this. But thank you for being there.
Thank you.
Right.
Thanks. Talk soon.
Yeah,
Thanks,
there you
Jordana.
go. It's Jordana Miller on ABC News.